Welcome everyone to a new era of my show. Allow me to introduce you to the Mizfits. You see, for too long I've sat and watched Morrison wasted on that C show, Raw, and Ryder has been a victim of our corrupt GM since day one on SmackDown. But we're taking over. I've pinned the WWE Champion, and I will have my title shot. Cue Big Show's theme that didn't play. I'll be sure to edit that in. Thanks, story designer. Did I scare you for a second, Miz? I think just about everyone has had it with the three of you, but I'll tell you what. You're right, Miz. You have pinned Christian, but at Extreme Rules. You'll be defending that title of yours against The Rock in an Extreme Rules match. So tonight, the three of you can face Christian, Rock, and a partner of their choice. And if I win, I get a title shot, and these two get a tag title match, right? No, they don't. But you do, if you can win tonight and next week against Undertaker. Cute Undertaker's theme that also didn't play. My god, story designer is shit. Really, really shit. Okay, we are here. It is SmackDown. Let's get on to the first match. Well, we are on to our first match of the night, and it is Stone Cold continuing his championship challenge. What's that TV remote going?
Approaching the ring from Victoria, Texas, weighing 252 pounds, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Why do you love me? A game of Find the TV remote. This game's really quiet compared to 2K19. It's such a strange transition to do. Found it. There we go. So, Stone Cold Steve Austin continues his little Champions Gauntlet thing that he set himself up to go on against. First, last week on SmackDown, we saw this man defeat the Cruiserweight Champion Zack Ryder in a non-title match. Tonight he's going to face off against the ECW Champion Wade Barrett in another non-title match as Stone Cold Steve Austin continues to try and rise the ranks and become the number one contender for the WWE Championship, which is, of course, his end goal in this whole situation. It's not every day that you'll see the ECW Champion competing here on SmackDown. But we got an interesting show for you tonight. As you've seen from the start up, we are going to be seeing the Mizfits in their very first 3-on-3 match. It's going to be the Mizfits. That's the Miz, the Cruiserweight Champion Zack Ryder, and John Morrison teaming up for the first time in our main event, as they're going to go up against the likes of Christian, the WWE Champion, as well as the number one contender for the Miz's Intercontinental title, the Rock, and we've also got a third man to be announced in that matchup. Still no confirmed appearance from The Undertaker here on SmackDown since winning the Contenders match. We saw a different side of The Undertaker 2 weeks ago on SmackDown when he won that Contenders match, as he attacked John Cena before the match, which was very unbecoming, very uncharacteristic of The Undertaker as we've known him, but he seems determined to become WWE Champion, to get that world title back. We know that he's furious about losing to Randy Orton inside Hell in a Cell, something he calls his own backyard. I've got to say, I think Barrett's taken an interesting approach here, trying to go for the cheap shot strategy to try and put a halt to Stone Cold Steve Austin's attempt to climb the ranks. Just 2 matches into it. This was only his second champion that he's gone up against. Next week, he's issued a challenge, assuming he wins this match. He's issued a challenge to one half of the WWE Tag Team Champions. He said he doesn't really give a damn which one answers at first. He's going to go through Evan Bourne. He's going to go through Kofi Kingston one way or another. So it don't really matter to him who decides to be the first victim and who decides to be the second, because the outcome's still going to be the same. I gotta say, looking at the way he's laying in the Wade Barrett, he's not exactly wrong to have the confidence that he's got. Stone Cold Steve Austin determined to become the contender for the WWE Championship, whether it's held by Christian, Undertaker, or damn well anyone else. He really doesn't care. He just wants every championship he can get his hands on, or to beat every champion he can get his hands on, I should say, to prove that he could become the WWE Champion, which is exactly what he's got in mind.
Into the headlock. What a powerful slam. Now with complete control. Austin's in a fighting mood.
When isn't Austin in a fighting mood? Really not looking like a favorable situation for Wade Barrett right now. The ECW champion, who was phenomenal in his victory over Ezekiel Jackson. Let's not take anything away from that, but Stone Cold Steve Austin, he's just otherworldly right now. Since coming here to SmackDown, he has had a fire lit under him. Got the stunner, couldn't get the job done. Goes for a clothesline, still couldn't get the job done, interestingly enough.
This has been a war.
Austin not exactly familiar with the top rope, but he still manages to connect.
Wow. Wade Barrett is such a natural.
That one seems to have busted Wade Barrett open. And Austin continues to lay into Wade Barrett like no tomorrow. And this time getting in the ways of the ropes. Stone Cold Steve Austin picks up his second victory over a champion. And if he's really going to go for every champion here on SmackDown, that leaves just 4 more to go. He's got both the tag champions, the Intercontinental champion, and then the WWE champion himself. So we've got 4 more weeks of Stone Cold Steve Austin challenging every champion he can get his hands on, potentially longer, because as we know at Extreme Rules, there could be a championship change. He could have to go back and beat someone else. Admittedly, I think he timed it just right, because I don't think the ECW title or the Cruiserweight title are on the line at Extreme Rules, which is next Sunday. The card for that is pretty much final. We've just got to find out who the #1 contender for the Divas Championship is going to be, which is our match next. Okay, well, #1 contenders match for the Divas title is next.
Is scheduled for one fall. Approaching the ring from Montreal, Quebec, Maryse.
Maryse seems to have really begun to have made a name for herself here on SmackDown just lately. Her first victory came just 2 weeks ago when she defeated Kelly Kelly, the Divas champion, in a non-title match. That was her first ever win, with 3 losses to her name beforehand. And last week she managed to get another very quick, dominant victory over, I believe it was Eve? Maybe not. Can't remember now. I can't remember who it was that she went for. Layla. It was Layla, yes. But here tonight, it's a contenders match.
Accompanied by Natalya from Buffalo, New York, Beth Phoenix, the Clemson.
Well, we have an interesting situation on our hands, because if Maryse can get this victory here tonight, she'll have officially 50-50'd her win-loss record. She'll have started to have that real turnaround that's important for a lot of people, because she'll become 3-3. However, although Maryse has been able to get that quick, cheap victory over Kelly Kelly and Layla last week, you know, with the quick run-ins and everything, she's not been able to do that. She's been sent out first here tonight. And she's up against Beth Phoenix, who is on a bit of a tear at the moment in determination to get her Divas Championship now that the Women's Championship has left SmackDown and she can't get her revenge on Michelle McCool. Beth Phoenix is looking to become the first woman to ever hold both the Women's and the Divas Championships in her career. Something I was going to mention. I've noticed we've got an interesting little addition at ringside as Natalya has come out in support of Beth Phoenix. I'm not really sure what that's all about, but Natalya, formerly a part of the Raw roster, has decided to support Beth Phoenix in her pursuit of the Divas Championship, it would seem. Whether this is all just some kind of ploy by Natalya and she's actually in it to try and get closer to the Divas Championship that she was originally chasing back when it was on Raw, or not, I don't know. but she's here in support of Beth Phoenix, which I just find to be very, very interesting, without saying too much. Still to come tonight, we've got that 6-man tag team match, as we are going to see Christian and The Rock team up for the first time, as they have to find themselves a third partner to face off against the newly formed Mizfits in our main event. I'm not really sure who Christian and The Rock could find as a partner. I'm not even sure how well Christian and The Rock would work as a tag team. But they are teaming up. That is our main event of the night. And I really do look forward to seeing what they have to do. We'll also be hearing more from Mark Henry next week on SmackDown. The man who has begun a tear, as he's finally gotten his first victory over R-Truth. He has made it very clear that he is trying to not necessarily break and beat R-Truth, but he's trying to... well, he likes to put a play on words with his name. He likes to try and have the truth set him free. Being told that Truth doesn't need to be a clown anymore. He doesn't need to try and entertain these people. He's a loser. He's a joke, just like Mark Henry was. And he needs to turn his career around. Obviously, R-Truth has a much worse record than Mark Henry. Because although Mark Henry's only got 1 win and 7 losses, R-Truth has 2 wins and 9 losses. So, really just not looking great of a career for R-Truth, admittedly. Mark Henry may be onto something. He did get his first ever victory last week on ECW, I believe it was, over R-Truth. But R-Truth currently sustained some minor injuries. We don't know when he'll be back. But Mark Henry's made his point, and as I say, he'll be back in action next week, which should be very interesting. But up next, I don't really know what's coming up next, to be honest, because the SmackDown roster is quite small. And I've already said that R-Truth and Mark Henry aren't on this, and the Ninefold and Kofi Kingston already competed on ECW, so that doesn't really leave a whole lot of choice. John Cena is currently AWOL. The Undertaker isn't exactly going to team with them. He's facing Christian next Sunday, so that's 9 days from now. Christian versus The Undertaker. Christian's potential undoing of his WWE Championship reign at just, 35 days in. It's really heartbreaking to know that Christian's first challenger is one that he probably just isn't going to be able to overcome. I mean, obviously, the Big Show, he's got an issue with the Mizfits. It'd be interesting to see what kind of condition he's in after the 3-on-1 attack that we saw happen to him last week. He would certainly fill the role of the third guy to face the Mizfits. And hell, they could even do exactly what the Miz did just for that one. The Rock and Christian, they could just sit back and let Big Show tear all 3 of them apart. The one downside to the Mizfits as opposed to the Big Show is that I think the combined weight of the 3 of them is about the same. Well, maybe not the same, but only a little more than the Big Show. Yeah, they're 660 pounds in total, the 3 members, John Morrison, The Miz, and Zack Ryder. Big Show, I think on the wiki it says he's like 300 something. Yeah, 383, but that's based on 2019 Big Show, because I just got that info off of Wikipedia, whereas don't think he was only 383 back in 2010, so I'm just saying, they're really not that much of an advantage over him, and I think he could potentially tear each one of them down if he got them just one-on-one, no problem. We have a look over the roster as well on SmackDown. Who else could we see potentially team with them? Well, Chavo Guerrero, hasn't seen him in a while. It's a bit of an odd choice, but he does have his issues with the Cruiserweight Champion, Zack Ryder. We already saw Ninefold on ECW, so sorry for those hopeful. Evan Bourne just recently won the Tag Team Championships from the Misfits, and they are already saying that they want a tag title shot. It would make sense that Evan Bourne would perhaps try to protect his title, but again, no guarantee. Goldust is just a possibility, a very odd one, but a possibility, as is John Cena. Maybe not as odd as Goldust, but still, not really anything that he's got any concerns over. I haven't seen John Cena since he was attacked from behind by The Undertaker in their Contenders match, which I believe led to him being the first to be eliminated from that Contenders match. John Cena has really not had it that easy since his debut. He's actually, 3-4. He's not doing great, and he's a very well-respected wrestler outside of this universe. There's a lot that he needs to prove, as Natalya distracts the referee in the favor of Beth Phoenix. Would have thought for sure that Maryse could have snuck herself a Contenders victory there, but no. And this is just going to keep going, so I'm gonna continue to list off everyone on SmackDown that's left as a possibility for who it could be. Obviously not John Morrison. Kofi Kingston was on ECW. Mark Henry would just not help them, let's be real. The Miz is again a part of that group. R-Truth is injured at the moment. Rey Mysterio could do it. He wants his Cruiserweight title opportunity. Realistically, if you can beat Zack Ryder as one of the members of the Mizfits, that's exactly what you'll be earning, potentially. Both members of DX just don't really seem to be interested in that situation right now. Working with the WWE Champion doesn't really seem to fit their interests, as Maryse manages to get the win still. I'm a little surprised. That doesn't really leave much else. So I guess there you go. That kind of slims it down. Uh-oh. Layla hasn't forgotten about that cheap victory from last week for Maryse. Maryse, who is now 50-50 in her win-loss record, says bring it. Well, we now know that 9 days' time at Extreme Rules, it'll be Maryse versus Kelly for the Divas Championship. Well, there goes the possibility of Rey Mysterio teaming up with Christian and The Rock. Not that I think he was going to, but definitely not now. He is in action.
Following contest is scheduled for one fall. Approaching the ring from San Diego, California, weighing 175 pounds, Rey Mysterio.
Rey Mysterio, looking to become Cruiserweight Champion down the line, goes one-on-one with a former contender for the Cruiserweight Championship, Chavo Guerrero. Here tonight on SmackDown, Rey Mysterio tries to get his second ever victory, trying not to suffer his 7th ever loss, as the guy is getting closer and closer to being delegated down to ECW on a weekly basis. Chavo Guerrero is 3-5. He used to be in the same situation as Rey Mysterio before he finally got that victory when it mattered most in a Contenders match for the Cruiserweight Championship. He went on to get a few more wins on his road to WrestleMania.
From El Paso, Texas, weighing 215 pounds, Chavo Guerrero.
And got a few more wins on his road to WrestleMania before finally getting to go one-on-one with the Cruiserweight Champion Zack Ryder in a tables match that didn't go his way, admittedly. But, you know, you can't win them all. Chavo Guerrero has not really seen the light of day too much since losing his Cruiserweight Championship match at WrestleMania. In fact, I want to say this is his SmackDown debut. Yeah, I believe this is. Chavo Guerrero was part of the 2010 draft that brought him here to the SmackDown brand, and I believe this is his first match on SmackDown since the draft back in March. We're towards the end of April right now. This should be April 16th, this episode would be. April 16th, 2010. I'm going to start putting the dates in the thumbnails, starting from 12. Going to be a few changes, and one of them is I think I'm going to put like the date that it's set in so that everyone just knows.
This will be a one fall to a finish one-on-one match. The first competitor to score a pin or submission.
We've got that huge 6-man tag team match up next. Still a lot of questions on who's going to be teaming up with the likes of Christian and The Rock to face the Mizfits.
King, what's Mysterio thinking about here in the early going?
Well, look, these guys are buddies, you know. They ride to the shows together, they go to dinner together, but unfortunately,
Off the ropes.
being a champion isn't about friendship.
Ooh, big old powerbomb by Chavo. Really weird, the sizing of people in this game compared to 2K19. I'll never get over that. The parallel as I go between the two. There are so many.
Well, I mean, it's not a hill, it's a mountain. There goes Mysterio.
For one, this just feels more like a silly little game. Whereas the other one feels like a pretty intense game, to be honest.
Oh, mama.
Some people prefer the silly little game style. I'm not necessarily shitting on this one, but they have such a drastically different feel about them.
How fast is this guy?
Mysterio.
This could be enough. Oh, it almost was. We'd hate to see Chavo Guerrero suffer the same fate that he winds up with the same career that he had back on Raw, but it's always that possibility. Very nice. Mysterio coming off the top as he goes in for a second pin attempt here on Chavo Guerrero. Still not enough though.
Rey Mysterio has said before that you don't have to be a 6'6" man with jacked muscles to be the best. It's about heart.
Thanks, Ray. I appreciate that. I'm only 5'9". You inspire me. I want to be the best. Very unusual thing for Ray to do that. Oh, okay. Just a bit of a psych out, evidently.
Is there anything Chavo can do here, King?
Oh, geez. You know,
Don't really like Chavo's odds right now. Rey Mysterio is all over him. Interesting to hear from the Miz himself that the Mizfits, they're looking for an all-out takeover of SmackDown. They're not just looking for what they've already got. They want the tag titles back. They want the WWE Championship. They want it all.
The tension, the drama. This is electric.
A big old boot across the face.
Here goes the high-flying Mysterio.
Mysterio is just, you know, he's 100 miles an hour all times.
he saw that one coming.
The damage has definitely been done. Now it may just be a matter of time.
I think the time has in fact come for Chavo Guerrero as we suddenly appear in the center of the ring. He's dialing it up, and there's the 619. And of course, the little bonus splash.
There it is. A huge 619.
1, 2, 3.
And there's Rey Mysterio's second ever victory. All he had to do was stop rivaling with CM Punk, who was also not winning very many matches, may I add.
Rey Mysterio.
Well, congrats to Rey Mysterio on this victory as you look to raise the ranks and become a contender for the Cruiserweight Championship in the future. Chavo Guerrero respectfully raising the arm of Rey Mysterio. He knew who the better man was and he showed him respect. And you know what? I'm really happy to actually see that happen for once. I've never seen that, and we are on the second to last week of Universe, and that's when it finally decided, you know what? He will embrace that he lost. He will raise his arm. Good. Okay, this is it. It's our main event time. The Mizfits have been put in their first tag match.
Tag team match is scheduled for one fall. Approaching the ring, the Intercontinental Champion, The Miz, John Morrison, and the Cruiserweight Champion of the World, Zack Ryder.
The interesting thing about The Miz's statement for why he put together this group as opposed to why he replaced Chris Jericho with the Big Show is, well, unfortunately, just like when he replaced Chris Jericho with the Big Show, he just made a lot of sense. He said that John Morrison was completely underappreciated and a wasted talent on Raw, and a lot of people have actually agreed with that opinion for a very long time. He said that Zack Ryder was being abused from the moment he came to SmackDown, and frankly, that's true, whether you like it or not.
From Miami, Florida, weighing 275 pounds, The Rock.
Whether The Miz actually has their best intentions and cares about them or not is the main thing to call to question. But going into this match, because I like to share this little statistics for main events, this is Zack Ryder's 20th match in this season. He is 11-8 currently, so he could be either picking up victory number 12 or loss number 9. Either way, a very impressive track record, to be honest. Whereas for John Morrison, this will mark his 12th match. If he was to win, it'd be his 4th ever win or his 9th loss. So again, for Morrison, this one really matters. But then a lot of people have said he's been overlooked for a long time. And for the Intercontinental Champion, The Miz, this is his 17th match. He currently has 10 wins to 6 losses. So again, things looking really good for The Miz. The Mizfits are quite a favourable team. John Morrison is definitely the underdog of the three.
From Toronto, Canada, weighing 223 pounds, he is the WWE Champion, Christian.
And pretty much everyone and anyone has said that his days are numbered as champion, and unfortunately for this man, the first ever Royal Rumble winner, the first ever WrestleMania main event WWE Championship winner, Christian, he is going to suffer a very short reign, a very inevitable fate in 9 days when he defends that WWE Championship against The Undertaker. In a way, the possibility of him losing this match, Miz, beating Undertaker next week on SmackDown, as unlikely as that sounds, it could still put a bit of a wrench in the works. It could still mess things up a little bit, enough that Christian could still get the win. If Miz joins that match and it becomes a triple threat, there is a target that Christian may actually be able to pin a lot more than the other. So who's the third partner going to be? Well, I guess it couldn't be anyone else, really.
And their partner, standing at 7 feet tall, weighing 441 pounds, The Big Show.
It really couldn't be anyone else. You want to talk about someone who's got an issue with The Miz right now and wants to get his hands on him? There you go. Well, The Rock currently standing. He is 3-3. He could really use this win to help put the odds in his favor in terms of his win-loss record when he goes up against The Miz, who is extremely accomplished at Extreme Rules. Christian, the WWE Champion, again, just like The Rock, 3-3. He's 6-6, another 50% win-loss record. But The Big Show, I think, has the best win-loss record of the series, 12-6. As he's always been an incredibly talented and unstoppable part in any team that he's been a part of. So it's going to be Zack Ryder starting things off against The Rock in this big six-man tag team main event as the Mizfits team up for the first time ever. The Rock making the tag out to Christian. Christian could really use a friend right now, I'd imagine. Something to help kind of ensure that he stands a chance of being the WWE Champion out of Extreme Rules.
What a great match we have here on Friday Night SmackDown.
Christian standing right in the face of The Miz, who wants to join the WWE Championship match at Extreme Rules after beating Christian in a non-title match. He does genuinely have at least somewhat of a claim to say that he deserves a shot at Christian with that. Nobody's denying that.
Christian fires him out.
Uh-oh. It might be time
Zack Ryder into the corner. Oh,
Finish Christian. And he has to make a tag.
that's not what I meant to do at all, thank you.
Now bringing in his partner.
Oh, and he's going to have to do something big here.
Big Show coming on into the ring.
And now he's back out on the apron.
Not the... Okay, that's a very quick move to go for the knockout punch on John Morrison. Doesn't quite get the job done. Now, one thing that I think Big Show's already probably appreciating about teaming with someone that isn't The Miz is the fact that they've actually joined in on this match. They did not immediately tag him in and get him to do all of their dirty work.
I've got a feeling that Soup's going to be on his
They tagged him in and he had a knockout punch on John Morrison, who blindsided him last week on SmackDown alongside The Miz and Zack Ryder.
There's the tag.
Okay, so I'll admit the Mizfits, they're maybe not off to the strongest start.
Here he goes.
Things aren't looking that favourable for them right now. That doesn't mean they're a hopeless group.
Nearly 500 pounds. Is the world's largest athlete.
It just means they're definitely not looking at the best fate, potentially, to start off on.
Rock. The referee.
John Morrison getting nailed with finishing move after finishing move. Shades of Yoshitatsu and ECW this week.
Breaks up the pin and the match continues. And Rock.
And The Rock's just gonna go for another one.
Rock bottom. And there's a tag. And now
This
he's
time
back
not
out on
even
the
like going for the pin attempt though. John Morrison is on the the suffering end of this three on three matchup. I don't know why I was really struggling to get those words out there.
Look at those punches.
And Morrison quickly counters it.
And that one hurt his hand.
Morrison really needs to make that tag. There you go. There's his opportunity. If I were him, I'd get out. No, he's not going to do it. I can imagine the Big Show is just dying to see The Miz get tagged in. Not yet managed to get his hands on The Miz. Look at the state of John Morrison's back after those 2 rock bottoms.
And the ref starts the count. Rock controlling the waist.
He's got him hooked. Oh man, what a Russian leg sweep.
And he gets the tag.
Tag made. Very, very fluid unit Christian, The Rock, and the Big Show have been. And now the kill switch. John Morrison just having about the worst night of his career. Rope break may be the only thing that kept the Misfits alive in this 3-on-3 situation.
And now he's back out on the apron.
Oh, that's John Morrison's opening. Make a tag.
John Morrison loves to win.
Very, very wise choice. And the #1 contender, hopefully, The Miz, really wanting that title shot, comes straight in like a house of fire all over Christian. The man that he beat 2 weeks ago on SmackDown, immediately after the draft. He's just absolutely laying into Christian. Wow. Well, the tide's definitely changed. We know who the star of this... Oh! Big Show holding on to his tag partner in a very different way to what he used to do. His former tag partner, I should say. I don't know why I said his tag partner.
Tremendous damage to the neck.
And Christian manages to lay out The Miz. The moment we've been waiting for has happened. Big Show is in the ring with The Miz.
Driving the opponent face first to the floor.
Big Show has been dreaming of this all week long.
Have you ever been over to Big Show's house?
Now, let's not forget the Big Show said that he wanted an Intercontinental title opportunity against The Miz. He wants to be the one to take that championship away.
Uh-oh.
Oh gosh, the back. That could very well dislocate a vertebrae.
I don't even think the Big Show is gonna worry about tagging out right now. He just wants to hurt The Miz.
Watch it. That was like a freight train.
High knee. Big
High knee.
taken off his feet.
The thing is, The Miz is, as I've said before, I've said it many, many times, The Miz is really good. You know, Show Miz at WrestleMania, that wasn't just Big Show that night against Chris Jericho and Edge. There was plenty of Miz in that tag team title match.
His partner's being punished and he's seen it up.
Ooh.
And there's the count.
Watch out here. Ouch.
And he finally gets out of the ring.
And this is the man that will face The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship in 9 days' time. Could be the guy to end The Miz's Intercontinental Championship reign. A well-respected name the world over is The Rock.
Incredible move.
Big spine buster. I don't honestly know who that would have tagged.
And the ref sees
And
the
Christian
tag.
is in. And out again.
He's back out on the apron.
Poke to the eye. The moment that Christian comes in, The Miz seems to capitalize.
Christian likes a fast-paced offense. He enjoys feeding off the energy of the WWE Universe.
Mizfits really not looking very favorable in their first ever team effort. I mean, I guess they got a few kinks to work out. They've never actually worked together as a team before, and unfortunately, whether I like to admit it or not, John Morrison, at the moment, with his lack of experience in this situation that both Zack Ryder and The Miz have been in, he's a bit of a weak link. Tagging him in, seeing how beaten down he got, kind of added up. Uh-oh.
And he's in there. Kill switch.
This could be all it takes. The Mizfits need to get over there and help their leader. Nope. No can do. Well, just like that, the Mizfits have suffered their first loss. Let's hope they don't make a habit of it. I think they just had a very, very tough set of opponents, I'll be honest. Not to defend the guys, it's just... I gotta be real, and unfortunately for them, I just don't think this was the kind of match that they needed to debut in. Well, that's a victory for these three. Christian finally picking up some momentum as the WWE Champion of the SmackDown brand. Oh, Christian's got something to say. Now you can all believe in me. I can do it. I knew I could all along. Undertaker, I'm ready for you at Extreme Rules. I will still be WWE Champion. I can beat you. Oh boy. I'll face you in a Falls Count Anywhere match, and I will win next Sunday. Oh. Okay. Okay. Well, that's one way to make an entrance. Okay, so there you have it. We got the stipulation all set for Undertaker versus Christian for the WWE title next Sunday. If Christian's even still alive. That's the question. As for news, Stone Cold and Wade Barrett are now enemies. The Miz and Big Show's relationship has gotten even worse. And Christian and Big Show are now allies. That's kind of cool, I guess. It's a handy ally to have. No change there from what I can see. Let's see. Christian is the #1 contender for the Intercontinental title, which is useless. He's the WWE Champion. He shouldn't be going for that at all. In the next game, well, actually you can't change rankings in 12. It's 13, I think, where you can first start moving where people are on the rankings. I'll be putting the World Champions at the bottom of mid-card title contenders. I don't even know why they can go for it. I think it's stupid. Stone Cold is now #9 with his victory. And Kofi Kingston has raised up over Zack Ryder because of his main event loss. Big Show has once again risen to the top of the WWE Championship ranks, whilst Rey Mysterio has overtaken The Miz. And in a preview for the final SmackDown of SVR 2011, the final Raw of SVR 2011, Kane versus Ezekiel Jackson with Justin Gabriel. That's a big fat nope. Brie Bella versus Tiny Shiny. I think this match should happen, and I think if Tiny Shiny wins, she should either replace Brie Bella in the Women's Championship match, or she should join Brie Bella in the Women's Championship match. I think justice needs to happen one way or another. That's a big fat nope. And that is one of the worst matches I've ever seen this game book. So, with that being said, what can you expect on this Monday's Raw, you may be asking yourself? Well, last week we found out that CM Punk and Kane are going to be facing off in a one-on-one match, in which if Kane wins, he gets his mask back. But if CM Punk wins, he gets to fight Mr. McMahon at Extreme Rules. And if he can beat the Raw General Manager, he will not only get to take his mask off, but he will get a title shot at Over the Limit. Because McMahon is certain Punk cannot beat Kane. Which, to be fair, given Punk's track record, is a pretty safe bet to make. We've also got probably some more to see from Justin Gabriel and Dolph Ziggler's rivalry. You know, we've definitely got Brie Bella versus Tiny Shiny, and maybe we'll finally see an interaction between the World Heavyweight Champion Randy Orton and his Extreme Rules opponent in just 7 days. Edge. That would pretty much be what I could have to say about this upcoming episode of Raw. But for now, thank you all for joining me for this episode of SVR 11 Universe. Join me next week when we finally wrong button. When we finally begin the final week of SVR 11. I'm sorry, guys. We never got to experience legendary pay-per-views like The Bash and Fatal 4-Way. Maybe next time. Just kidding. Never.